Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Edna White. I am your host of Keeping It Real on Purpose. And I thank you so much for being here today. And today, who is stepping in the room with us today, audience, is none other than Dr. Fred Moss. He is a keynote speaker, a psychiatry expert witness, and mental health coach. He's a creator of the Welcome to Humanity, the True Voice course, and the Healer. He's also the author of Create Eight, the number eight, Healing Through Creativity and Self-Expression, and Find Your True Voice. Welcome to Keeping It Real on Purpose.
Thank you, Edna. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me on a guest.
Oh, you're so welcome. You're so welcome. So I know from all that you're kind of involved with, I want to know, and I know the audience wants to know, how you show up in the world.
Mm-hmm. How I show up in the world. I think what I show up as is someone who's highly interested in making sure that people find their voice and deliver it effectively into the world that is eager to receive it. You see, we have over time learned how to become people that we aren't in order to protect the person that we are.
Oh, that's scary. That's scary.
Like each of us have done that, though. You know, you've done it, I've done it, we've all done it, where we start watering down what we say, or sometimes in the extreme form, actually saying things that even we don't believe.
Oh, that's good. Yes.
Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's amazing that we have been whittled down to the point that we're willing to let something out of our mouth that we don't believe. Like, it's an extraordinary way to manage life. And so when I say find your true voice, you know, which is the name of my the second book I wrote, when I say find your true voice, that's the book that really helps you get access to that true voice by chopping away the things that are in the way, the obstacles and the hurdles that prevent us from speaking naturally, that which is really important to us.
Oh, that's good. I know it took me a long time to find the true me, even though I make mistakes. I love it. You know, I love being me. I think I'm the happiest I've been since I was 5.
That's fantastic. Good for you.
I want to say that. I want to say that's been, I can't relate to your feeling no more than that. But you say that we have these masks on, and you do talk about unmasking mental health. Does keeping those masks on keep us with mental health issues, or could it lead to?
Well, it's interesting that you asked the question, mental health issues. Well, there's a misnomer in the conventional world that when people say mental health, they think they're saying mental illness. There's a huge difference between mental health and mental illness. So we all want mental health issues.
Right. Okay.
Because we want to be healthy mentally.
Right.
So we want to transform this narrative of what it means to be mentally healthy and mentally ill. Or what indeed is mental illness, as a matter of fact. You know, we do not have a very good definition of what it is to be normal.
Okay.
Right? If I would ask you, what's a normal person? You don't know. And if we don't know what normal is, then we have a lot of audacity suggesting that we know anything about what abnormal is.
True.
So we start looking at people and diagnosing them, giving them conditions such as depression or anxiety or social phobia or PTSD or narcissistic personality disorder, Asperger's syndrome, these kind of things. And we really don't even know what we're talking about. And what's really very interesting is when someone presents in one area of the world with a particular set of presentation, they might be considered mentally ill. And you take that same person and put them in another circumstance, another culture, and they might be considered gifted, or they might be considered normal, or they might be considered, not a problem. And, or maybe they need to be institutionalized. Who knows? So, mental illness is that fluid. When you have a broken arm, Edna, it's broken whether you're in Tibet or Singapore or Australia or London or St. Louis.
Correct. Yeah.
When you have mental illness, that is simply not true. It very much depends on the circumstances you're in, like who are your family members, who made the decision that you're mentally ill, what is the treatment protocol that you're involved in. So we start really looking at mental illness being an entity in and of itself whose time has come
Mm-hmm.
for a transformation in the narrative, a revolutionary, evolutionary transformation of the narrative, what mental health and mental illness really represent.
Okay. 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 I got to wrap my head around that, but keep talking. I need more into what you just said there. I need to understand that.
Right. So, we think that there is such a condition, for instance, as bipolar disorder, or we think there's
All
a
right.
condition like called schizophrenia or post-traumatic stress disorder,
Okay.
narcissism, Asperger's syndrome. We think that when we say that we're actually speaking about something.
Mm,
What we're really speaking about is an agreement that us Western Americans have put together.
gotcha.
It's just a
Gotcha.
conversation. And
Yeah.
because it's just a conversation, it's subject to total and complete transformation.
Okay.
And because of that, we can really alter the playground for which mental health and mental illness get exhibited each
Yeah.
and every day. And look, I want to make a really important point here to the clients who are, or the listeners who are taking us in today. If you feel like you have found your diagnosis, it saved your life, someone really is helping you, you're getting the proper treatment, maybe
Mhm.
medication, you're having the regular weekly or ongoing conversations that are keeping you steady and safe and solid and upright, by all means, continue to do that.
Right.
Under no circumstances am I pushing you away from something that's working. If
Yeah.
it's working for you,
Mhm.
please keep doing it. On
Right.
the other hand, I am speaking to the hundreds of millions of people out there where it's not working.
Yeah.
And there literally are hundreds of millions of people
That's
where this is
correct.
not working.
That's correct.
And this group should know that there is a fluidity, there is a nebulousness, there is a vagueness around
Hmm.
what is mentally healthy and what is mentally ill. And it is precisely that conversation that needs to go through a significant foundational transformation.
Okay. Got it now. That's
Good.
good. That's really, really good. Because I know when you're nervous, or you're displaying like some kind of like, I guess behavior that seems like say anxious, like you okay, for instance, driving, if somebody's driving too slow, right? You're like, oh man, come on, that thing. Someone can relay that as, oh, you're anxious, right? And right away put a label on it. But that's really not, you're just saying that, it's not really anxious. And then people take it on and say, oh, I have anxiety because I act out. I say, I want the traffic to move, and then it starts this conversation and then it gets spread because I know that happens in a family, a jargon will come in and then they'll say, that's what they're acting like, and then the family believes you now have this, this condition, you're anxious, and it really is not. Am I correct?
Yeah. Well, anxious is simply an emotion. After all, anxious is simply an emotion. It's okay to be anxious.
Yeah, I've been saying that. It's not a condition. It's an emotion.
It's an
It's an
emotion.
emotion.
Yeah.
It's-
Yeah. And so is depression, by the way. We speak to these things as if there's something wrong with us.
Thank
Yeah.
you. It
Yeah.
really is. And it's nothing wrong with being depressed. It's when you take it to overboard that then you suffer other things. You
Exactly.
start to go into other places, and you can't seem to climb out. But yeah, you can be depressed because I get like that, but you got to go through it. If that makes sense to you, like I know when I'm not feeling my best, so I'm quiet. So I don't take calls. I don't take any calls because I don't want to be triggered, if that makes any sense at all. So I try to work through things myself and ask myself those are really important questions. Is it,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. So, yeah, you can be going through a state where you feel depressed or you feel
Mhm.
anxious, or maybe you feel happy or hopeful or
Right,
faithful. Maybe you feel
right,
interested or curious. And,
right.
any of those things are all just feelings.
Okay,
And when
gotcha.
you have the feelings, you can embrace the feelings, even if they're uncomfortable.
That's good.
You see, the
Good to know.
conventional psychiatric model has it be that if you're uncomfortable, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
If you're uncomfortable, That's called human.
Right.
It's okay to embrace your discomfort.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
completely
absolutely.
okay, and get that the person right over there next to you and your mom and your
Yeah.
sister and your brother and your friend and your neighbor, each of them know exactly what it is to be very unhappy and uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because it comes with life. It's okay to be unhappy and uncomfortable.
Yes, yes. And you're navigating it. And that's what's important. You're navigating it, right?
Exactly. We all are navigating it.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Each and
Yeah.
every one of us, including the people who have received professional help, they're navigating
Right.
it too.
You're navigating it. Correct. Correct. So I know you talk about creating a welcome humanity, right? You know, a welcome to humanity, a true voice course. Um, how do you? What's the first part of welcoming humanity?
Yeah. So when I say welcome to humanity, that's a good question. When I say welcome to humanity, what I'm really implying is all of this is part of the human experience. And
Gotcha.
welcome to humanity is when people are having a hard time or a great time or a boring
Mm-hmm.
time or whatever kind of time they're having, one of the answers that is always there to give them
Right.
is welcome to humanity,
Right.
meaning this is what humanity is. What you're
Yeah.
experiencing right now,
Mm-hmm.
whatever that is,
Right.
confusion, fear, terror,
Mm-hmm.
sadness, regret, concern, happiness,
Mm-hmm.
hopefulness, whatever
Okay.
you're experiencing in any given moment, that's
Mm-hmm.
called being human. So, welcome to humanity is just really embracing every piece of this experience for what it is,
Right.
realizing that it's all precious in its own right, including the stuff that we don't wish would happen to us.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I love it. And I know there's one more part I want to ask you
Sure.
about the it's part of your book, create eight, but it's about self-expression. Can you talk a little bit about that self-expression?
Right. So the book is called The Creative Eight, and the Creative Eight is, yeah, the subtitle is Healing Through Creativity and Self-Expression.
Okay.
So what I have found is that really where it all gets blocked, where people end up getting disturbed or getting imbalanced or dysfunctional or
Okay.
paralyzed or unable, is
Okay.
usually in the world of communication being blocked. Either we're not expressing ourselves effectively or we're not listening well enough to other folks
Gotcha.
about what's being called for.
Okay.
So inside of the Creative Eight, what we do is look at, so there's certain ways to express ourselves that go over and above this verbal thing we're doing here today. So
Mm-hmm.
today, you're counting on me to speak so that you can hear and process and then speak back to me. And we have this exchange in
Right.
words.
Mm-hmm.
But there are multiple ways to communicate that don't necessarily take into consideration word exchange. For
Right.
instance, art, music, dancing, singing, drama, cooking, writing, gardening, those are the original Creative Eight. There's others that have been added. And we start looking at those as being outlets and pathways for communication that,
Mm-hmm.
when actually engaged with, injects a new sense of healthiness on the spot so that the symptoms you thought you had disappear while you're doing those things.
Oh, that's good. You're right. That's so good.
It really does disappear. And that's because at that time you are effectively self expressing.
That is so good. Now, I know there's a creative part in all of us, right?
For
And I
sure.
love to write. So when I'm writing, I'm like I could write for like 8 hours, and I'll be like, oh my gosh, it's now. I woke up this morning. Now it's now 6 o'clock. I'll be like, I've done nothing but was writing. Um, you're saying that these writing is part of the first creative eight.
Yeah, writing is in the eight. Writing is one of them. Again, as long as you're creating, we
Okay.
were put on this earth to create. And people say
Right.
I'm not a creative person. If you're making it through life, you're a creative
You're
person.
creative. You just don't
Because
realize
you
it.
just to manage second after second, you're putting so many things in the right place and out the
Okay.
right place.
Right.
You're being so creative just to continue to walk through this crazy world.
Okay.
So when you start getting that, you start seeing that all you have to do to create art is pick up a pencil and draw and
Mm-hmm.
doodle, or
Right.
to create music, maybe take that same pencil and bang it on the side of the table,
Yeah.
or to dance, just move around the room in a rhythmic way or non-rhythmic way. Singing, same kind of thing. You can sing to your favorite song, or you could sing Twinkle Little Star if you want, whatever you want to do. And when we're out there creating through the visual and performing arts, we are bypassing this issue that we have with not being heard for who we are. And what each and every one of us wants more than anything is to be heard and respected for who we are. And in order to do that, we're talking about exchange or self-expression exchange, meaning self-expressing ourselves and listening radically to what's being called on for us.
Well, that's good. That is so good. So where do you put hobbies? Where do hobbies come in?
Right. So hobbies are an interesting form of it all, because in most cases, what hobbies are creations. Even if you're like doing model trains, whatever you're doing, it's in some form of creating a new item for yourself. The engaging hobbies, whether let's say knitting, or let's say boating, or let's say tinkering with cars, then all of a sudden you see that you're creating in that process, and it is the relief from the day-to-day concerns and pain that you have and your fears that through creation that allows hobbies to become so magnetically attractive.
Wow, that is so good. What's the misconception around self-expression? Is there one?
Well, there is a discovery that we all get to make as we dig in deep and realize that we have been acting like people that we're not in order to protect the person that we are. This is an ineffective way of managing life, of course. It's preposterous, it's ludicrous, it's absurd. And we do it anyway. So one of the things that happens is when we start lifting off those obstacles, those rusty spots, those cobwebs, we get access to what's been here the whole time, which is our core value system, what's at the center of our genuine, authentic self. When we do that, when we get access to it, it naturally wants to express itself, because this is a discovery. This is your core self. This is what you've been put on the planet to address. And you begin to address that instead of becoming like Henry David Thoreau said, which is the mass of men go through life in quiet desperation and then go to their grave with their songs still in them. The truth is, we don't have to go to our grave with our songs still in us. And each and every one of us has the capacity to self-express and be heard, and to know that who we are and what we do really does matter.
Yeah, absolutely. You also talk about undoctored. Is that the term, undoctored?
Undoctored, yep.
Yeah. Can you share with the audience what that means and how to know when it's time to be undoctored?
Yeah. So, the undoctor is an affectionate moniker that I received from a friend a few years ago, just knowing a little bit of what I do as a psychiatrist. And one of the things I like to do is I like to remind people that they are not their diagnosis, and they may not even have the diagnosis they think they have. So I become somebody who undiagnoses people, unmedicates people, and then undoctrinates people, actually taking them out of the conventional psychiatric system if possible, because it doesn't really work. When we take people out of the system because it doesn't really work, we give them an opportunity to find that true voice of theirs. And as the undoctor, if we get people to realize that there might be nothing wrong with you in the first place, then they no longer are compelled to fix, change, or improve themselves. And they can just get that who they are and the experience they're having is fine, is actually perfect, just like it is. And when that happens, that's when the undoctor becomes something to consider. Now, the undoctor, for people who have already gotten on medicine, it's a little more difficult to back them off at their medicine and their diagnosis, because they have already bought it at least once. This undoctor is also helpful for people who are thinking there might be something wrong with them, but want to learn that maybe there isn't. Edna, it turns out that psychiatry is the only subspecialty in all of medicine for which, when you tell the patient that they're fine, they get upset with you. Like if you go to an oncologist or a cardiologist or an
Mhm.
orthopedist and they tell you you're fine, you're like, oh, cool. I love it. If you
Yeah.
if you go to a psychiatrist and they tell you you're fine, you blame the psychiatrist for being a quack, and you just go next door and find a doctor who's actually going to tell you there's something wrong with you.
You're right.
Very, very, very committed to having something wrong with us humans.
Mhm. Wow, that is amazing. You are so right. It's just so right. With all that you do, Dr. Moss, all that you do, what is it that you want to leave all that you do as a legacy to this world?
Yeah. Well, I'd like to be known as somebody who reminded all of us that there's nothing wrong with you. Like really getting there might be nothing wrong with you, and that there is a maybe there's a compelling reason, there's an attraction to believing that there is something wrong with us.
Mhm.
See, I make mistakes all day long. I've made many mistakes already by this. It's only midday, and I've made, I don't know, countless mistakes today already. Right.
Yeah.
And if I can, I don't know, we've been taught to think that mistakes are bad. So if I
Yeah.
can find another
Mhm.
reason to
Mhm.
make mistakes, like that wasn't me, that was my ADHD. That wasn't me, that was my depression. That was my bipolar. That wasn't me, that was my
Oh,
schizophrenia.
okay.
That was my
Okay.
PTSD. That was my
Mhm.
Asperger's syndrome. When I can blame a mental illness for being the cause of my actions that led to untoward outcomes, I'm curious and interested in that. I want to heave that off onto something else so that I don't have to shoulder responsibility for my life.
Yeah.
Now, again, let me give that disclaimer again. If there's people out there who have a mental illness or have been diagnosed and it's all working for them, by all means, congratulations, more power
Right.
to you. Please keep doing whatever you're doing.
Right. Right.
This is more for the people who are unclear if there's something wrong with them or who want to have something wrong with them so they can get that they keep upsetting their wife or they keep like, stepping on the
Mhm.
toes of people.
Right.
They can
Right.
be like, I want to know why I keep upsetting my wife. You know what the real answer is to that? Welcome to humanity. You know what the
Yeah.
answer they're looking for? Some sort of
I'm
bipolar
stealing
disorder.
that. I'm going
Yeah.
to steal that, doctor. I'm going to steal that.
Yeah, exactly.
Welcome to humanity.
Yeah.
Yes, welcome to it. So, talk a little bit before you go about your book and tell us, the audience, how we all can purchase it.
Yeah. So I have a couple books, and you can find the Creative 8 online at drfred360.com, drfred360.com. And there
Okay.
you can pull down a PDF and a audio version of the Creative 8, Healing Through Creativity and Self-Expression. My
Mhm.
other book is called Find Your True Voice, and that you get a hard copy of the book by just going to findyourtruevoicebook.com. And there, for the the mere cost of shipping and handling, I'll get you a copy of the hard copy book. That's a book that really looks at using podcasting as a template, by the way, how to get access to that true voice that's underneath everything
Yeah,
and
yeah,
rediscover that core self and then delivering it effectively to other people, whether you're on a podcast as a host or a guest or listening to podcasts or
right.
just wanting to communicate with the people in your world who are important to you.
That is so good. Well, this has been really good for me. I know, audience, that you've really gotten something out of it because it's thought provoking. It really keeps you on your toes and it gives you more information. Thank you so much, Dr. Fred, for
My
being
pleasure.
here today. No, it's no problem, but I know that you are just fantastic. I could sit and talk to you all day, but I know that we have to end just like that. It ends. And we thank you guys for coming and we thank you for listening to us because you could be anywhere else, but you're with us today. This is Edna White and my esteemed guest, Dr. Fred Moss, saying goodbye for now.